have 10 o'clock. I want to welcome everybody here this morning to our Monday morning, November the 18th meeting, and would like to ask you to join us in pledge, followed by an invocation. If you would please stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we just thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for the blessings that we enjoy. We thank you for the county and the citizens that dedicate their time to making it a better place to live. Lord, we just pray that we continue to give them hope and that we, Lord, listen to each other and we listen with respect and listen to understand, guide the directions that we take and the way we conduct ourselves. These things we ask you in your name. Christ's sake, amen.
All right, we have agenda that don't know of any changes at this time. In a motion.
Move. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, make it known by show of hands. Carries. Vote. Right in your packet, there was a set of minutes from our October 21st meeting. Any concerns or questions on those?
Just one question, and I think Drew's answered it for me. There was another set of minutes coming along or something that you haven't had a chance to get to yet.
Right.
And that was where I mentioned the morale of the county employees. But that'll be in the next set of.
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Anything else? If not, is there a motion on the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented from 10:21. All in favor, show of hands, please. 5-0, motion carries. All right, we are to public agenda comments, public comments, agenda items. Anyone here would like to address this board on any of the items on our agenda? Please feel free to come and do so. We'll move along to item B, presentations to the board. We have Chamber with us this morning.
Morning.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Before I introduce the Spotlight business, I wanted to report on our 2019 Chamber Awards banquet. We had about 100 people attend the dinner and program at Old Bow Country Club, and Tommy and his staff did an amazing job accommodating us. We were really pleased with that. Karen Lees was given the Community Spirit Award. Bottomley Evergreens was given Business of the Year. Alleghany Jam received the Community Impact Award. Young Professional of the Year awards were given to Dr. Ashley Flowers and Dr. Michelle Tompkins. And Lifetime Achievement Award was presented to Francis Huber. And I'd like to thank everyone who came out to support the Chamber of Commerce and to honor the award recipients this year. Our Spotlight business this morning is Three Crows Metalworks. It's owned by Lou and Diane Morrison, and it's one of our newest businesses in downtown Sparta. So I will turn this over to Lou and Diane so they can tell you a little more about their business.
Good morning, and thank you for having us here this morning. My name is Diane Morrison. It's my husband, Lou. I guess 6 months ago, the 22nd of this month, I guess it was May 22nd, we opened a business at 28 West Whitehead Street called Three Crows Metalworks. It's a small handcrafted jewelry business. The artists are Lou. He's fairly new to the jewelry business, but my oldest daughter, Maggie, and I have been making jewelry for quite a number of years. Lou and I are not originally from Alleghany, but we've lived here for 40 years and raised our family here. We've had several businesses in Alleghany that we've either owned or operated over the years, but we've had this one for about 6 months. All our jewelry is made from sterling silver, copper, a little bit of brass and bronze, or combinations of all of the above. Most of our materials are recycled. Some of our copper comes from actually local construction companies from some of their scrap that they donate to the cause. Most of our materials are produced in the United States. We try to use recycled metals, and our gemstones, we try to make sure that they're ethically sourced. Most of those are mined in the western United States, out in Nevada, Colorado, that area of the country. Our hours are Wednesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Starting Black Friday, we'll have extended hours until 8 p.m. at night. So maybe hopefully some of the folks that work will have some time to come by and do some shopping. So is there anything you want? I guess that's all I have, but thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You have a nice shop. Good job.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Steve Mason, I believe, came in the room with a TDA request. Or maybe not an official request, maybe shedding some light on a few.
Just sharing some information in regards to the board members. Just wanted to share with you real quick that as of November of this year, this month, we currently have 2 members of the board going off. They will be going off the board, and that's Shirley Richardson and Tommy Maines. Our last meeting was on the 14th of this month. Current members that are on the board are Amy Lucas, her term ends next year, John McKilmartin, which also terms out next year, myself, which terms in 2020, and Tommy Maines and Shirley Richardson, who term out this month. So I bring this information to you because both of those individuals need to be replaced on the board. Both Shirley and Tommy have expressed that they would like to continue on the board if that was your wishes. And that would also be my recommendation in regards to the fact that how they've served, and they've served well. Just want to reflect on 2 things, though. Policy-wise, from a replacement standpoint, at least 2 of those individuals have to be collecting occupancy tax, and 1/2 need to be involved in promotion and marketing of the county. So in replacing those individuals, that's some of the criteria that has to be looked at and reviewed. So the reality is we will not be meeting, we do not have a current meeting scheduled for December, and unless we need to do something emergency-wise or something of that nature. So technically, you've got until January, when we have our next official meeting, to replace those individuals.
Those 2 have expressed, that are terming, have expressed interest to stay if the board chooses to.
They both have, and that's
they
actually.
both meet the criteria that's required from, 2 of the board members have to be able to collect the occupancy tax.
Correct.
And you would, with these 2 going off, you would be left with 1, which is John Kilmartin.
Correct.
And then more. So both of these would have to be made to fulfill that.
Well, at least one of them would, because,
one.
yeah, one of them would.
Or a new one with the same.
Correct, our
Okay.
criteria. It's in our current minutes from our last meeting, that both of them reflected that as well. So, yeah.
Anything else?
That's it. Just to share that with you. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
I'd like to know why the late notification. We have requested a 60-day notification prior to members of the various committees so that we could query to see if anyone would be interested. Now we're faced where technically these people will be off on the 31st of November, and we're just now hearing about it.
Yes, sir, but we also will not be meeting again until January, so you still have 60 days to work within that time period.
Yeah.
We requested 60 days prior to the expiration.
I
No,
understand.
you can at least give us the courtesy of letting us know that these people are coming off.
Yes, sir. I understand that, and I can appreciate that.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. All right, next on the agenda, we have Daniel Roten.
Morning.
Morning.
Just a couple of real brief things. The first of which is the Domestic Preparedness Region Grant that I had inquired with you folks about previously when I stood here. After some discussion with the state and with the other counties, we've been reassured that that funding, if we were to, sponsor this grant, the turnaround time on that grant, the state says it's 30 days. The counties that I've talked to said no more than 6 weeks. So I've been assured, both locally and by the state, that turnaround time is very short. And in addition to that, myself and Karen Evans have been on the phone with the auditors and some of the other counties as to how they handled the transfer of property. They've all assured us that it wasn't a big deal. I think the auditors said just keep good records of it. It's not really a problem. So I'm here to ask for that approval to then tell the state that we would sponsor that.
This is actually would happen in next year's budget
That's right.
process?
This is 2021 budget year. Yep.
You need action today.
I just need to know that, to be able to tell the state that
Basically, our
we'll do it.
intent is whether we would move in that direction or not.
Right.
I have no objections.
Recommend we do it.
You want a motion on that?
It doesn't make it, I just want you guys to know what we're doing, so.
It's not on the agenda for action. I believe that we would need to place it on next month's agenda for an action.
All right, if we,
We've approved the agenda.
okay. All right, we'll, any other concerns, questions on this matter? No, you have a second item on there?
I do, and this just came up here recently, and it's about out-of-state travel. The same group that's doing this message board project is also working on a project for this budget year. And Yancey County is actually sponsoring this, and it's for what they call a MERT trailer, Multiple Events Response Trailer. And basically, it's a 16 or a 20-foot trailer, and it's full of road cones and barrels and barricades and all kinds of stuff of that nature. It's about $13,000 worth of stuff, and we don't have to do anything except go get it. Pennsylvania, the company that's doing it.
So this would help us with get off the interstate, various
Yeah,
fundraisers.
the idea is to use it for whatever you want to use it for, whether it be the Fiddler's Convention, the 21 Road Market, an accident,
Streetscape.
anything that we want to use it for, we can use it for. Like I said, it's a bit of a travel, but
You just have to go to Pennsylvania.
the two companies they're having to quote the thing, one is near Pittsburgh, the other one is in New Jersey. I don't know how the quotes are going to come in. Like I say, Yancey County's handling it, so
So you wouldn't need action until the quotes come in.
that's right.
No objections.
Any other?
I think that's a good deal. We need to pursue that.
It's free.
If it's for free, it's for me.
That would have multiple uses with your emergency management
That's right.
disaster, whatever.
They got several of these for the other counties. I know Wilkes County, Ashe, and some of the others. There's only 3 of us left in the area that don't have them, and I think they're using them a lot. They've been very popular.
All right, and of course, the county policy is any out-of-state travel has got to be approved at
That's right.
this point. So when you get ready, action on that.
Okay. Good.
Anything else?
Thank you.
All right, general business items. We have a board appointment that currently is being served by Larry Prince, the Country RPO's Rural Transportation Advisory Committee. And I did have a conversation with him because if Larry agrees to the reappointment and doesn't refile, his term would be up next December. At that point, they would just come back to the board and ask for someone else to replace him, permission from the board. So that will open it up for questions, discussions.
And to continue serving.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to reappoint Larry in this role. All in favor of that, make it known by show of hands. 5-0, motion carries. Thank you, Larry. All right, next in our packet, we have received interest in a property that we own. And we did not receive a deposit with this. This came in Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday. And this is for the a lot that's off of 18 at the back of what used to be Bristol Compressors, the entrance going up in there. We do have, I didn't get my hands on the document, but depending on how the board wants to pursue this, from our July 16th, 2018 meeting, there was a lease agreement for the Partnership for Children to use that lot. Don't know the terms of that agreement. Like I said, we can find that and hunt all the information, but I wanted to bring what we had to the board and see what the board's desire would be. This is the Partnership for Children was looking for a lot to build a child advocacy center that they're currently fundraising for. Not sure, they don't have a timeline, a hard timeline on when they're going to do that, or even an absolute certainty that they are going to meet the fundraising needs and build the property. So bring what information we had and have a discussion with the board. Thoughts you all have and what direction you want to go in.
Didn't somebody else try to buy this lot at one time about a year ago, and the same reason the board turned it down, because of maybe the Children's Partnership might be interested?
I don't remember the details. It seems as though there was a discussion.
How long do we hold on to this if somebody keeps wanting to buy it?
I think it's up to the
It's
board.
up to us.
Yeah.
It's a bird in the hand or a bird in the bush. Looking at the county finances, we better not turn down any offer to bring in funds into the offers. However, if we accept this offer, will we advertise?
Before you even get to there, I think we need to look at that lease and see if we're bound by the lease.
In terms of check that end of it out first.
You
Yes.
can sell it subject to the lease, but it may not be as desirable to any potential owner.
Well,
But
if lease stated that they were going to build on the property and we've given them sufficient time and they've shown no interest,
It depends
need
on
to-
how it just depends on how it's written.
let's look at it. And it might get them off the stump also.
And the
Say we
other,
give them 30 days to see what they're going to do. If they're not going to do anything, just take the offer.
A motion to table until the mid-December meeting. To give you sufficient time to review the lease.
I mean, I can look at it before the 1st of December meeting as far as that goes. It's not going to take long to do it, but even if that lease does tie up the property, if we could consult with the Partnership for Children and see if they want to be released from that lease, that may free it up to sell too.
Any other discussion?
I mean, just a comment, this says it's approximately 1 acre. Right now, this offer is $20,200 for 1 acre. So it's close to being in town, but that seems like a very attractive offer, especially given the finances that the county's in right now. If you look at this 20,000 as compared to what we've sold other property for, so far, in my opinion, this is the best deal we've seen in a long time. So the recommendation is to table till,
Legal can review the lease
And
agreement.
we should be able to do that and be ready for the next meeting in December. First one.
then with this offer, then it'll still have to go out for upset bid, won't it?
Yeah.
That'll be a 30-day process.
We do, I think, a 10-day,
10 days.
yeah,
Depends on how many times it's upset.
and it, yeah.
Yeah.
But then, of course, as I say, this didn't come with a deposit. We would, if we decide to go that route, we'll go back and need to get a deposit to make this a legitimate offer, but we'll wait and defer till a legal position on the lease. Anything else on that matter? Next item would be, your packet. There's been some conversation about the Alleghany County Recreation Commission, the property of the high school.
I think before you go on, there was a motion to table, but I don't think there was actually a vote on that.
But, oh, it was a motion for that
There was a motion to table.
till,
Actually, his motion was for,
Mid-December.
Motion to mid-December, to table until the mid-December meeting.
Second that.
motion and a second to table the previous discussion matter until mid-December.
Okay.
Favor? How about? I just, there you go. Motion carries. All right, this, kind of a, interesting property, the way this is listed. I think essentially it's county property. There was who had worked on trying to find some information regarding why, or how it's listed and why it's listed that way, and that's what she included in the packet. And just wanted to have a discussion to see if, I think all of this is doing business as Alleghany County. I think essentially it is. Is there a need or is there a desire to do anything different than this? Open it up for discussion.
My original concern was in the job description for Recreation Department, it listed this entity had to be consulted or should be consulted before information is put in to be used by the Recreation Department. In this commission, I think the best that everybody can understand doesn't exist anymore. How can that be in the job description? Then the second part of it is, I was curious to know who owned, if the county owns the land, if the county owns the Lions Club Pavilion building. And that was where my concerns came from.
The first question, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at the third paragraph. And whereas it has come to the attention of the board that it is necessary for this board to appoint an Alleghany County Recreation Commission in order that this project may proceed. Now, that project was the building of the swimming pool. Once that swimming pool was built and turned over to the county, I believe the commission went away. I'm reading this, but I'm not a lawyer.
apparently the only thing of record is this document, and it appears to be an ad hoc committee for that purpose. I have no idea when they stopped meeting. I don't know if there were successors to the ones who were appointed in this document. I know that some of these individuals are no longer alive.
I'd say the majority of the commission
I'm
are no
thinking maybe
longer
only
with
one.
us.
At any rate, it was an ad hoc committee formed by the commission, so I think if anything, you can do a resolution dissolving this. I do think the county actually has the title to the property, even though the deeds say Alleghany County Recreation Commission. Because it was never a separate legal entity. It was never a separate corporation. LLCs didn't exist then.
I'm looking down here at the very bottom, Alleghany County, Alleghany Recreation Commission to Alleghany County Board of Education, 1.00 acres, most of the tennis court. That tells me we deeded over
We did, and my office
Board of
prepared that.
Education.
That was
Did
where the
Alleghany
tennis
County-
courts were split previously.
Yeah, but the question is the Lions Club property. I don't see anything that shows us any deed to the Lions Club.
Well, the first one listed is Lions Club Pavilion, and I
Okay,
think that was to
Pavilion.
the Alleghany County Recreation Commission.
Okay.
As I said, it's an
Correct.
ad
I
hoc
overlooked
committee
that.
of Alleghany
Yeah.
County government. To
Is
clean
it
it up,
we-
if you want to do a resolution to dissolve the Alleghany County Recreation Commission, which has been defunct for several years, to have that of record. I think that anything else, if you ever try to transfer a title from any of these things, it can be resolved with an affidavit.
Need to be published in a newspaper?
Wouldn't think so.
So you would recommend a motion to dissolve?
This is obviously no longer in existence.
Make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second that motion.
We have nothing foreseeable that we haven't had probably this school was done and the bank was involved in how it was up initially.
As far as doing a deed, I mean, the only way to fix it would be to do a deed from yourself, Alleghany County, Alleghany Recreation Commission to Alleghany County. It would be basically giving it from yourself to yourself, so I don't even think that's necessary.
Then kind of circling back to it's in a job description because it's been historically carried forward from this time frame probably, and dissolving this with job description. Environment there. Any other?
Just to be clear, for a simple answer, does Alleghany County own this tract of land, which is give or take 67 acres?
Well, I haven't looked at that deed, but I'm assuming that it says Alleghany County Recreation Commission, and if so, then yes, it's Alleghany County doing business as Alleghany County Recreation Commission.
The county does own the land and the building.
I mean, the building is attached, it's gonna be, whoever owns the land owns the building.
Okay.
But I mean, I can double check, I mean, these were your notes, so is that how it was done, Alleghany County Recreation Commission?
Yes.
Yes.
So, when we built this, the disc golf, my understanding is we went outside of the lines one way or the other, either on our side or on somebody else's side. I'm not sure about where that property, who owns the property, where the disc golf starts.
No idea.
I've never seen it, so I don't know.
I don't have any independent knowledge of where that is.
And we were looking at doing something at one of the baseball fields. There was some grant questions that came into being that we couldn't, or we had to get permission from the state or whoever donated part of that grant or whoever gave part of that grant.
About what the discussion of turning Davis Field into two fields? Yeah. There is a part-if grant on that, and Drew has actually been talking with some folks. Do you have an official answer on that? You mind coming and sharing? Didn't want to give up any previous monies or have to give
I
anything
met with
back.
Phil True from High Country Council on Friday, and he said we can go ahead and expand the one field to two, but we will not be eligible for any more part-if money to do so because it was funded by part-if the first time. He said you can expand it as much as you want, you just cannot tear down the ball field and make it an RV park or something like that. As long as it stays a ball field, we can do any expansion we want, but they will not give us any more part-if money to do so because it was funded previously from part-if.
On that piece of property.
Yes.
There's other grant money that they handle that we could apply for.
Absolutely. And I had a long discussion with him Friday. I just haven't had a chance to meet with Mark. He was out of the office Friday afternoon when I tried to come down here and brief him. But as far as the ball fields go, he did say we're fine to expand. We just are not eligible for any more grant money for expansion.
Do we need that in writing from them, or is the conversation good enough?
It never hurts to have anything in writing, so if he could follow up with an email just saying that would be nice to have.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, any other, I think we have a motion. We get a second on that? It's been so long ago to dissolve. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor, show of hands. 5-0, motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda, we have a reimbursement request for Register of Deeds. I know this has created some heartburn, and for that I do apologize. And I do want to make it clear before I say anything about this. I have no concerns or no thoughts about any misappropriate or any monies mishandled or anything of that nature. I think this is more for me as an opportunity for us as a board to kind of understand our process a little bit, and maybe for us to do some work going forward. And I know this is kind of unique to us because we haven't been faced with this before, but essentially there was a request made for a course by Ms. Ham. If you want to come and speak to anything, feel free to do so. To take a employment law class, and it was brought to my attention as to whether or not it was I want to be careful with my words because I don't want to give the public any challenges here on where I'm at and where I stand, as far as I'm not questioning the ethics of any of this. It's just that the spending, the board creates a budget and trying to make sure our spending is in harmony with sort of our budget. And when this came up, it was an employment law class that would be appropriate, most appropriate for someone like April, which we have an HR department to handle. And I viewed him as a department head.
Mark.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Ruth.
I am a ham, but.
I'm sorry. So with that, so I went and talked to her, and we sat down and we discussed it, and then she began to, that's what I need help sort of reasoning through this, and she had expressed the need for continuing education hours, and we talked about that. And so, and she was going to get me the follow up and get me the hours that this would produce. And as I researched it more and found actually a class, one-day class that was designed for department heads, and the total cost of this is $1,631.33, I believe, is what was
It's $15.51.
$123.93 difference on that.
That is the reimbursement to me for travel.
Okay. So, as I said, there was a one-day for department heads, and which would have been a lot less. And so I just, I responded with that. To me, I found that more appropriate. So then I went back and talked with her, and of course we disagreed on the need. And you know, it's we have the budget. It's perfectly legal to do so. The clear benefit to the county was where we were kind of at a difference on. And so in that regard, I wanted to defer it to the board. And then I have, the couple of questions I have on that was because we do have HR department. And of course, her being an elected official, she has the right to hire and control her staff. And I get that side of it. I think all that could be appropriately handled or handled effectively with our HR. And so I couldn't see it was hard for me to justify it based on what I was looking at. And so I wanted to defer to the board. You want to add anything to that, or?
I'll just answer questions if they have any questions.
I have a number of questions, Mr. Chair.
I have no questions. My question is, you said it was brought to your attention. Who brought it to your attention?
Finance.
Is finance now going to bring to your attention every travel that every elected official that runs their own department, their own elected department, is that going to come to the board for us to decide what they should do and not do?
Well, anything that there's a challenge over, whether it's appropriate or whether it's the right thing to do, if they have questions on it, which is the process that they're supposed to follow.
I just think there's been a lot made to do out of nothing. I would move that the travel appropriation be approved. And as an elected official, she runs her department as she sees fit. The budget was passed with whatever she had in there for travel. I have no problem with it.
I would second that motion, but I would do so after I receive some answers from some questions that I have. Now, when you submitted your budget request, prior to this, did you know that there was a local class?
I did not.
We're looking at least, I don't think Wilson Community College had published their curriculum at that time whenever we started working on this, because we do start working fairly early. It was in your budget.
Yes, sir.
It's my understanding that, if I remember correctly, it was a $2,500 appropriation.
26.
26. So you're basically $1,100 under what we approved.
I mean, with the exception of my previous conference, I mean, there may not be a lot left. I pick my classes based on what I feel is my need for my office.
Thank you. Now, you are certified. You have a certification.
Yes, sir, I
You're
am.
an elected official.
Yes, sir, I am.
As the elected official, like the sheriff, are you not responsible for the hiring, firing, and disciplining of your employees?
It's my sole responsibility.
That is your sole responsibility.
North Carolina General Statute says it is my sole responsibility.
Even though we have an HR department, that
Yes.
is your responsibility. It comes down on you.
Yes.
In your previous employment, did you receive any training in regards to human resources?
No.
So this is for your edification. At the same time, you would be fulfilling continuing education requirements for the certification you have right now.
Yes.
Here is the question. You approved your budget. With that, sir, I will second Irwin's motion.
Yeah, I'd like to add some comments. To me, budget is a guideline. It's not a law. You are an elected official, but I think we as county representatives, based on everything that Bobby and others have said, very money conscious. We need to
I
do
am.
everything we can up to the date to find ways to save money, if it was in the budget or not. And I think that's our responsibility. And if we're gonna say, you know, we did a bad job in reviewing the budget, we did a bad job in reviewing the budget. We've been caught at that time, and I don't think we can go back against that. But I think for futures, if it's in the budget, it's a guideline. It's not an absolute, because things are gonna change after that budget is submitted. Things are gonna get cheaper, or they're gonna get more expensive. I think we're being hindsighted if we say that, you know, if it's in the budget, it's good and go for it. I don't think we could ever question another expense.
I agree with you on that. However, we submit our budgets as a department head with the understanding of what our offices will need. Doesn't mean that we're going to spend every dollar given to us. As Commissioner Irwin said, this was not within my budget. Our explanation sheets spell out what it is that we are asking for our funds. And on my explanation sheet, it says certification programs, because I am required as a certified registrar to continue my hours in order to hold that certification. It wasn't a class out of the whim. It was a class that came up during association time, or brought down from my association as a recommendation that we all have it. I was not the only registrar in this class. So that is another reason that I do not, and I want to say this as record, I don't spend my budget just to spend my budget. I do what I feel is best for the office. So I don't just spend the money because it's there. I've never done that.
Based on what I heard this morning, the conversations, they're saying do that. And I don't agree with that. I appreciate you saying that.
I'd like to say that I do agree with Larry, that we need to be looking at every penny that we spend in this county, especially given the financial situation that we're in right now. And I think for the finance officer to bring this to the county manager, temporary manager's attention was appropriate. And I would hope that she would keep doing that with the sheriff's department. Every time he wants to take any type of training for his men, then that should come back to the board so we can approve it beforehand. Like Larry said, we're trying to save the county money. So I think that a lot of budgets now have gone out the window, and they're going to come back to the board so we can micromanage how the money is spent in the county.
I'd like to ask what legal's advice is on this subject.
I think that
Budget.
kind of agree with both sides in that I think that Mark is correct, that there's a procedure in place. I agree with Miranda that she has something within her budget and so many hours of of continuing education that she has to take per year. I think what she took is something that qualifies for that. Could there have been a better choice? It may be possible. I don't know the timing. I mean, that's been discussed today. She says she needs it. I don't think there's actually a dispute that she needed some HR training since she manages employees. I think the question comes down to, could there have been a better choice? But it was clearly legal for her to take a course that gets the hours for her certification. I think it was within her budget. I think that the climate of how things had been managed up to the interim county manager coming into place needs to be factored into all this, because even though this may have been the policy of the county, I know it hadn't been followed in years, at least 2.5 years. And I think that may have contributed to the whole disagreement. I think at this point, though, the course is already taken.
Yeah, I think, to me, water's over the dam. Let's go, move on.
It may be instructive to everybody else for the future expenditures to have things pre-approved before they're actually done, but at this point, it's already done.
That kind of speaks to the meeting we had last Wednesday about our purchasing. We're all concerned and sensitive to our purchasing and our spending, which is not a budget function. It's actually the other end of it. that's where this comes in. But I do have just a couple more questions, and we'll move along. The continuing education, did you ever determine how
hours.
many hours that was actually, because I never did get a response from you.
6 hours per day.
6 hours per day?
The full day is 6 hours.
So how many hours what's your requirement?
I'm required to have 50 in the beginning, and then it's 10 every year after that.
Then the frequency or the amount of times that you have needed to exercise this type of training since you've been there?
No, I mean, thank God I've got a great staff, but that doesn't put it into play as far as how many times I've had to use it. Luckily, my office doesn't have a lot of turnover. Everybody's aware of that. They've been here 29 and 25 years, but they are approaching, if they choose to retire, they could. And who's to say that one wouldn't get sick tomorrow and have to leave? It's not about doing it.
So if you did an FMLA for an employee, would you do that, or would you use our HR staff?
I'm not, just because I took the class doesn't mean I'm not going to use our HR department. It wasn't a class as an alternative not to use the HR department. I am required as a registrar to know the law. And I've presented you with the statute. There is a law that says that we have to know and understand the steps that we have to take as if we were in HR, because it's our office, it's our sole responsibility. Just because I get put in that situation does not mean I would not use the HR, but I'm required to know it. That was my justification for the class.
And then a couple other comments is, this is out of the actual Carolina Guidebook for Register of Deeds. It says the register should consult the county personnel officer, manager, and an attorney before discharging an employee for any reason. And there's more verbiage in there, and then I've got another one that talks about registers should consult with county human resource managers to be aware of their requirements, the restrictions. So it's not totally out of the question that you wouldn't use the resources the county already has in those regards.
No,
and those are out of
my handbook. However, the rest of that states that that's just saying as a cautionary, we would consult with y'all. It does not say that we have to. Actually, if you read in there, it states that the county manager nor the HR or anybody else has any authority over my office.
One final comment is on your budget explanation that presented. This course isn't specifically listed.
It's not listed in.
It's listed under a host of selection of items.
He wasn't asked to present the
I want
classes.
the public to understand where I'm coming from, and that I think the board has an opportunity, hopefully going forward, to do a better job on the front end of our budgets and be more. So and again, I apologize to the board and everybody. This environment that I've come into has not been desirable, but there's been some challenges and some places that I think the board needs to work on, and this is a prime example of that, so that we wouldn't have to get to this point in the future. So again, I do apologize for the stress and the challenges. You know, we still have services and community needs to meet all of our departments. Just trying to, and then the process is that the board would step in and approve these kinds of things. So, and there is a motion on the table.
Mr. Chairman, I have some more comments. I have a question. What effect is this recent questioning of your abilities had on your department? What's your morale like now?
In my department's fine. My girls proceed on every day like normal. However, it's caused stress on our department.
Stress.
Who offered
Stress.
this class?
Sorry?
Who offered the class?
The School of Government, which I also presented Mark with an email from the School of Government stating the justification for me taking the class.
The School of Government offers a lot of classes to a lot of people, so they're not going to put out a frivolous class or offer a frivolous class.
I never said this class was frivolous.
The impression that I'm getting is that it was a class that was not needed. My point is that the School of Government offers these classes. They do so for a specific reason. They think the people that take them need the classes.
Yes, and I would like to comment that within this class, I don't know of but maybe a handful of people that was actually from an HR department. The rest were sheriff's office, local law enforcement, register of deeds, and DSS.
By statute, they hire, they fire, they discipline.
Yes.
So they've got to know the statutes so that they don't cross that line.
Yes, and let me, if you don't mind, Commissioner Erwin, I do want to make this clear, this has been brought to my attention, that nowhere in statutes does it specify certain classes or requirements, unless you are certain departments like building inspection or something like that, that actually requires you to have certain levels of certification. A lot of departments don't require that we have certification, but to better our offices, we get certification in every office. Tax, register of deeds, sheriff, finance, no different than anybody else. There's no statutes that actually spell out you have to take this course or you have to do this. It just specifies that we have to follow guidelines, of which is what we do. And if we choose to be certified, then these classes are what we have to have. So it has been brought to my attention that it's nowhere in statute. I've been asked to produce where it states it in a statute. Statutes don't specify classes or requirements unless it is specific to an office. None of us are required to have certifications, other than someone like building inspection or EMS or something like that.
So basically, we taking this action, we were questioning your judgment.
In my opinion, yes.
We're an elected official. Final judgment are the voters. We approved your budget. It was submitted. You know the requirements that you have for recertification. I apologize to you for questioning your judgment and your abilities for this board. Some may not, but I find it offensive that this has taken place. Again, my apologies, madam.
Thank you.
How many continuing ed hours will you have this year?
Well, just one I got from this class.
You don't get them from your regular register of deed courses and conferences?
I get like an hour or so. There's not a whole lot of them. My certification starts from September. So October 1st through the next September is my year.
Any other? There is a motion and a second to approve the request. All in favor, show of hands. Opposed? 1.
Thank you.
All right, we are to consent agenda. I think there's a question or two on any of the items.
I'd like to remove item 3 and item 4 from the consent agenda and talk about those separately.
All right, let's.
I have questions in regards to the delinquent taxpayer contracts.
Rita, you want to come and speak to those first?
Sure. Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. The question is very simple, Rita. Ms. Miller, excuse me. Sorry for the familiarity. We have 13,000 total that are in default, correct?
Right.
Now, you're listing a number of these that are showing a current due of 0. How can they be delinquent if they are currently 0? Is that a programming glitch?
It's a software issue. It is.
Software issue, but we're looking at $13,326 $2,262.39. Some of these amounts are significant, over $2,000 and $3,000, approaching $4,000. And they are delinquent, so what action has been taken, please?
Once they become in default, we look for bank account attachment or wage garnishment. If we cannot find that, and it gets to, we're currently on 3 years delinquency, then we would turn it over to the Kenya law firm for foreclosure. But that's after we've exhausted every course we
means.
have for trying to collect it.
Do we have any that are approaching at cutoff point now?
Missy keeps me updated monthly on these, and then, I just make the determination if it's time to send it on to the Kenya group or not. Typically, they have 6 active accounts that they're working on, and as we foreclose one, I'll send 1 or 2 more.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Note your staff, what is our collection rate now? About 98%?
Well, on the 2019 bills, we're at 73%, which we're about 1% ahead of where we were at this time last year. By the end of the year, we'll be up.
It's important to mention that they aren't due until, I believe, December the 31st before the penalty comes in,
January the 5th.
January the 5th. So basically, we get 2 paydays. Get 2 paydays because everybody wants a discount, they'll pay.
That's right.
And then everyone will wait until the last minute and then pay. The reason why I said December the 31st, so that they can put it on their
Their
taxes.
taxes, that's right.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miller, and my compliments to your staff. They do an outstanding job for the county.
Thank you for that.
Any other questions for Rita? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, Commissioner Bobby Irwin is asked to remove the item 3 and 4. Would you like to kind of speak to the reason behind it, or?
Okay, on item 3, it's a general fund budget amendment number 6 in the amount of $6,165 for a salary increase for the assistant county manager. This includes all the benefits and everything. I think my part of the question is this, that new job description was asked for, I think by you and by the chair and April Ham, and the county agreed to it. At this point, if we have this position available, shouldn't we be utilizing that position, letting the assistant take over as a temporary county manager until hopefully we get our new manager in the foreseeable future? As to some of the comments that were made before about the Register of Deeds office, I can see a tremendous savings to the county of, if my math is even close to being correct, saving close to $10,000 in the next several weeks if we went ahead and approved the assistant take over the position of the assistant county manager, with the understanding, with the draft that April provided us, in the event the county manager is unable to fulfill those duties, go ahead and replace the current temporary manager with our county clerk as temporary manager. And I see a savings of close to $10,000, depending on when we do hire a new manager. That's my take on item 3. And on item 4, I would like to have some discussion, I guess, with Donna about the lawsuit, that what the total cost was, what the insurance paid, and then what the taxpayers are gonna have to pay for that lawsuit.
Well, that's a, deductible was 5,000. That's what will be county money, public money, the deductible. The rest will be paid by the insurance company from what they have indicated so far. We did get Friday, we got a small additional invoice Donna forwarded to us that we have to forward to the, if they will pay that, but we don't. When I say small, it's like 600 something.
So the total amount that the county's gonna have to pay is the 5,000 deductible?
Yeah, this amount is actually for the insurance check proceeds that will be coming.
It'll be coming back to us?
Yeah.
So it's gonna revert back into the coffers?
Yeah.
Okay. And I just go back to that was an easy answer.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. But the assistant county manager is
And I
what I'm
believe,
concerned about.
yeah, and I respect your thoughts there, but I think that's a kind of a separate conversation. What we want to do with the manager. This is to make that budget reconcile at the end of the year with the action the board's taken on that position. As far as what the board wants to do with this position, with the manager, interim manager position, really, to me, is a separate discussion.
I look at it as being the same discussion based on saving the county $10,000, give or take a few dollars. And that follows in line with what Larry was saying and what I think Karen was looking at in Miranda's situation is we need to be doing everything possible to save money for the county. And a $10,000 savings is a lot of money. And that's basically it.
I have some questions because I'm just a plain old mud marine. I got to break it down Barney style. Bobby, are what you saying that if we approve this 6165 for the assistant county manager, whose part of the job description is to assume the duties as a county manager in the absence of a county manager,
Just to determined by
should-
the board at the time.
to be
of the
determined by
instance.
the board?
At that instance.
Okay, so if we decide today in closed session that the assistant county manager will become the interim county manager until we bring another one in, then what you're saying is we would save approximately $10,000? Understand my question?
I don't think he heard you.
I was in the changing batteries.
You and I both, mine are here ready to go.
But I'm, like I said, I'm just, I'm looking at the finance end of it.
Well, again, I mean, that's the amount of money for the interim manager. If there's an action taken, then that finances at that point will match up with whatever action the board takes. This still needs to happen for the finance office to be able to have everything reconciled with this position.
Well, I think that if Drew was appointed today,
All right, I mean, what's the rest of the board's thoughts? Is there any other opinions from anyone else?
I'm still working on my opinion about saving the money. That's what I'm getting at. This job description was put forward by you in April. And April gives us this scenario one day last week, which, brought up this subject in my mind. How do we save some money? If you read the whole draft, the basic function would be that Drew would do the assistant county clerk or manager would do is paperwork basically only. Day-to-day running, if there was a problem, then the entire board would come into that to answer that problem. We're approaching Thanksgiving in a few days, more weeks after that, Christmas. There's going to be very little, unless something drastic happens. The county can't get along with letting Drew do the paperwork and save the county that amount of money. We've paid out tens and tens of thousands of dollars since our old county manager left. I had hoped that position would be filled like it was before at a no cost to the county, but that didn't, and I was part of that decision. That didn't work out. I'm just looking at using the tools that you gave us, that HR gave us, save the county money.
That tool includes a caveat for the board to decide at the time whatever direction they want to go, which is I don't see that as part of this consent agenda.
Yeah.
I don't know what the board wants.
We approved this position, we approved great pay grade. I think that's an obligation we have. The other discussion about Drew filling in for Mark or whatever, that's a decision to be made in the closed session. It's two separate things. Yes, we all want to save money, but that's not a discussion for this board right now.
I would agree with that decision needs to be made in closed session. I'm just going by, my concern was raised in item 3 by the amount of money that was to be spent on this new position and in the draft of a scenario that was sent by H&R, I think, to all the commissioners.
That was requested from this board that she draft that and bring it back with our discussion that we had regarding this. Wording be established and be implemented into that, which that's not actually official because it is just a proposed draft for the board to. Heather?
I think we have to live up to our obligations. We approved this and go forward with it. We're talking two different subjects here, though. Really. But to move on with this and do what we're obligated to do.
Yeah. Motion on the consent agenda or any action of any kind?
I never heard a second.
Did you make a motion to remove these items?
Made a motion to discuss those items.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Accept the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, show of hands. 5-0. Motion. Okay, public comments. Anybody here would like to address this board on any matters? Now would be a time to come and do so. All right, interim county manager comments. I do want to comment. I went to a class, a school of government class on county capital improvement plans. It was Pittsburgh Friday, not Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh. I was in state. And something that I think we can work to develop over the next year or two, hopefully, to look at some of our needs in a little bit different perspective than the way we've treated them in the past. And that's all I have. Move to commissioner comments. Commissioner Bosmer.
No comment.
Commissioner Bobby Earl.
just a couple of quick ones. Got a fairgrounds expense report from the finance department, very detailed, and I appreciate that. I think Karen spent a lot of time pulling all the numbers together. I think initial report that we had several weeks or maybe even a month or so ago was significantly lower than what this is. This, if you look at the numbers, they're roughly $59,000 to run the fairgrounds. That does not include the insurance on the buildings, which is going to be a hard number to come up with until we have some more discussion with the insurance company. The mowing cost was basically not counted in this the way that I read it. There's no way to put a cost on it. And I think at our last commissioners meeting, or our work session, we asked Josh Green to come up with a price to do all the county mowing plus and include the fairgrounds, and I hope that he can have a hard number in the near future. But those numbers surprised me that it was as high as it was, and that's really that's it.
Couple of things. Bobby mentioned last time employee morale, and it's come up again this morning. When I talked to some of the department managers, the employee morale was caused by the dissension on the board. And the employees watch this program, and they're very disgusted with how we're treating each other and the lack of respect. So that's my comment, and I think we need to change our behaviors.
Commissioner John Irvin.
I'm glad that Larry brought morale up. Bobby and I come from two different worlds. Bobby and I, as staff non-commissioned officers of the United States Marine Corps, knew one thing and one thing only. You can have the best organization on paper that God ever made. It is the people that carry out decisions, the recommendations that make it different. Morale is part of that. We have one department head that will retire as soon as she has her time up. We have another department head that has told me he's looking for a job because he doesn't know what to expect from one day to the next whenever he comes in. We have changed things, and it has affected employee morale. That's all there is to it, period. Dissension on the board? Yeah, there better be dissension on the board. If you think we're here to rubber stamp everything, then we're not doing our job. I point out things. I don't expect everybody to see my point of view. I see it from a different light than others. But we can have a discussion. Too often things are made and then we're not brought into the discussion. Or we will get an email individually, not knowing what the comments were from the other commissioners, then suddenly action is taken. That's not discussion. We've got to sit down, cuss and discuss, and put up a united front. Now, those out there in TV land or YouTube land, before we meet the next time, filing will open up, 2nd of December. You don't like what's going on? Get off the sidelines. Put your finger in the daggone puddle and join us. See if the public will see your way. This is a challenge, and this county will have greater challenges than possibly it has ever had before in 2020. Budget, the unfunded mandates that are coming down. Appalachian Health gave us a presentation a few weeks ago. The 3 counties that are comprised Appalachian Health, they're looking at $400,000 additional from us in future years. In 2 years, that's going to face us. That's a lot of money for a little county like poor old Alleghany. You can cuss us, you can discuss us, you can be dissatisfied because we have dissension, but democracy is like making sausage. You may like the product, but you don't want to see the process. And some of the process has come out in open forum. Some contentious issues have been discussed in closed forum, but we've discussed them. Never in any of these has it come up Democrat or Republican. It is for Alleghany County, and that's who we serve. And I'm proud of that. No matter if we butt heads or what, we are always looking at the benefit to Alleghany County. God bless us. That's the end of my comments, Mr. Chairman. I thank you very much.
I would state that I do believe that even through these challenges, the dissension and the divisions and with the board, that I believe every member of this board is trying to serve the county from their heart as best as they know how. And we're all just humans. We're not perfect. We're all trying to do what we think is best for this county. And I respect and appreciate the board members for participation. The filing date is actually, I think, 12/2, if I'm not right.
Correct.
If I'm not wrong
December
on that.
2nd
So,
through the 20th.
and which is the day of our meeting. With that, they're being asked to go into closed session. I would ask for our HR officer, April, to be included in the motion under General Statute 143-318.11.A-6 personnel.
I approve that with the addition of April.
Motion and a second. All in favor, show of hands. 5-0, motion carries.